Welcome to Here's to Your Health with Joshua Lane. Here's to Your Health discusses the current thinking in wellness, bringing you the most influential thinkers in beauty, fitness, and longevity. Your host, Joshua Lane, was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that helped bring wheatgrass sprouts and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health, Joshua Lane.
Welcome to this edition of Here's to Your Health. I'm your host, Josh Lane. My guest is VIKTORAS KULVINSKAS. VIKTORAS KULVINSKAS is the author of a very influential book called Survival into the 21st Century, which Victor has revised and is now called Survival in the 21st Century. And Victor's book, Survival in the 21st Century, was one of the most influential books published in 1975 when VIKTORAS KULVINSKAS, in conjunction with Dr. Ann Wigmore, ran the Hippocrates Health Institute in Boston, Massachusetts, which was at the time very likely the premier center of wellness thinking in the United States. On the West Coast, you had the Esalen Institute, which focused on psychology and philosophy, Eastern thought, and it was great and very important. But on the East Coast, I think Hippocrates was really the premier center of healing in the United States when there were many fewer people who understood the value of the subject. And VIKTORAS KULVINSKAS was considered, and is considered in the 1970s, 1980s, to have been the premier teacher of what was called the raw foods movement, which today we might call the vegan movement. And today, Victor KULVINSKAS is still seen as the godfather or the senior teacher on the subject of wellness. And VIKTORAS KULVINSKAS, let me just mention this, as a young man, earned his master's degree in mathematics at the University of Connecticut and worked for the space program as a scientist on the United States space program. One of the most influential teachers of wellness in the world, VIKTORAS KULVINSKAS. Victor, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Josh, for such a warm welcome, and I'm so happy to connect with your audience, and looking forward to an adventure that we're about to have.
Victor, so as a young man, you were an academic in that, you received a master's degree, I believe, from the University of Connecticut in mathematics, and then you worked for the U.S. space program.
I taught college mathematics for a couple of years, and then I ended up joining Smithsonian Astrophysical Observatory for a couple of years. We were working with Baker non-camera stations, mapping out not only the geography, but also the magnetic field of planet Earth. And then I ended up going for more work at University of Connecticut, and then I joined another company called Phi, and that's the one that was on all these different projects. We're the cutting edge in basically in software, and also and basically simulation, language development. So we simulated the flight mission for Apollo. We simulated a lot of kind of the language systems for guiding submarines, war games, all kind of nasty little stuff. And I stayed with them until in my late 20s, at 29, I felt I was not at home anymore. I wanted to be of service. I felt I wanted to be more into humanities, and I didn't know what to do. And I was a sick individual. Many of my colleagues, we were not into any kind of healthy lifestyle. So I saw two of them die from heart attacks on the job. We were 24/7. So I decided to ask from my boss for give me a sabbatical, a time to kind of check out what I want out of life. So I took off for a year. And that's when I discovered Norman Walker. I discovered Dr. Warren Bray. I discovered many of the naturopath doctors who also introduced me to Ann Wigmore. And she had at that time in Boston Globe on the cover of magazines of Parade. Twiggy was the number one, you might say, fashion model, skinny bones, but she was world name. And she was at the Ann Wigmore was doing detoxification. So I said, with wheatgrass, I said, oh, I never heard people eating gases or juicing or whatever. This is for me. So I ended up, eventually visiting Anne, and we hit it off real well, and she offered me a position because I was already my workaholic behavior kind of enticed her. I mean, and she gave me a position. Says there'll be no salary. You can work all the hours you want, and she offered me a place to stay, a room and board at the farm. So I couldn't ask for anything more. So I ended up being with her for 7 years, developing. I spent over 3,000 hours at basically Harvard Medical, not medical school, but the medical library. You get a better deal. I paid zero for my education, and I got it out of biological abstracts. I went through from 1939 to 1975, and also all the medical books. And that's where I discovered the works of Dr. Edwin Howell. He had his manuscripts were I found it on the shelves there of the library, and it was entitled basically entitled "Food Enzymes in Metabolism and Digestion," and he had over 500 medical journal references, and it was a classic. So I got really that's where I finally connected with enzymes, and then enzymology became my field. I tracked him down. I ended up getting him to allow me to not only to publish this work, so and at the same time he allowed me to do an update. So I added another 40 years to the history of the book in terms of science on the field of enzymology, and wrote that introduction, and then that book was converted to more. It was converted to much more mainstream languages eventually, and enzymology became a buzzword. Then I became Johnny Appleseed of the enzyme industry. So I basically I studied with under Dr. Howell at that time. He was in his early 90s and doing research in the field of microorganisms, soil-based organisms. So anyways, he taught me a few things. I joined his company and ended up becoming the top sales rep and developer of systems for marketing. So I just kept on going from enzymology to obesity. I worked with another group, Cell Tech, for over 25 years. I traveled, I worked actually with many, many, many different companies and institutions. So Hippocrates was just my start off, but I never left far from Hippocrates. So I always participated. And as Brian and Anna Marie Clemens took over became the CEOs, or you might say the general managers, and took the direction to completely new arenas that Anne never thought about. And they synthesized or organized everything and basically made it very organized. And that was the thing that is the foundation for success. And now I'm at Hippocrates Wellness here in West Palm Beach. Beautiful 60 acres almost of beautiful gardens, all kind of fruit trees, as well as also statues, art, just and housing. And right now, there's still room for new additional guests. People come to study, basically work with our life transformation program, upgrading. And the thing that is very noteworthy about this place over here is that we have more miracles happening here than anywhere else in the world in terms of people who are here from 1 to 3, 6 weeks over there, and you see the radical transformation that is taking place in the individuals. And every Friday we have a kind of a ceremony of sharing the miracles. I happen to participate on this one over here. It gave a, anyways, it's a beautiful place, and I'm so happy to come back twice a year to work with the doctor days, also with our cancer program. We have actually a very special program for cancer twice a year. Excuse me, every month it's initiated, but I participated every 6 months. I come back here, work with the Hippocrates. So this is, and I live in the most paradisical environment. One of my clients, basically, he told me I helped him to overcome fourth stage liver cancer, and he said, "I'll find you the best place to live." So a couple of years later, he takes me takes me off, and I wonder 50 years ago, no, not 50, about 45 years ago, the place called Costa Rica, the Mosquito Coast, and I just fell in love with it. And now Costa Rica, the place I live, it's noted as a blue zone, noted for longevity, and Costa Rica is also noted to the according to happiness index, basically for 7 years in a row, it's been number one on the happiness factor. In other words, people are much more happy there, and that's conducive to health. And just as a last commentary, I know you say, shut up, Victor. As a last commentary, I start my day with happiness. That's something that is so powerful, and everybody should be doing something like this. In the morning before I get out of bed, as I started waking up, the, the first things I say, I am so happy and also so grateful now that I am healthy, happy, holy, abundant, and enjoying the best life ever, expressing my dharma, my passion, why I'm here on planet Earth. And I'll tell you, it really works because I am so happy, I'm so healthy and experiencing abundance, joy, life, friendships. All right.
Our guest is VIKTORAS KULVINSKAS, the author of Survival into the 21st Century, who has his own wellness center in Costa Rica. And VIKTORAS KULVINSKAS is the scientist, the educator, who reintroduced the idea that enzymes were very important for our good health, which is now taken as just mainstream. Everyone talks about it. But really, Kulvinskas, working with the works of Dr. Edward Howell, was really foundational in making that happen. And also VIKTORAS KULVINSKAS, and along with Ann Wigmore, was also equally responsible for the use of fermented foods, which now we all take for granted as why, of course, everyone's known that. But when Victor was studying it and speaking about it, and so was Dr. Ann Wigmore speaking about it and studying it in the 60s, 70s, 80s. People really were unaware of it. Now, Victor, let's go back to Edward Howell for 1 second. So,
sure. Yes.
Would you say that because of your study of his work and updating his work and promoting the work, that digestive enzymes, if I'm categorizing it correctly, became widely used?
They already had a long history, but not very well known in the European and Japanese community. But we basically brought it to the West. The West, the mucozyme, which was developed from basically animal protein, and basically it has a limited scope of value, and whereas it has no dangerous issues associated with fermented sources for enzyme development. So primarily, I was fortunate enough to join a company, Celtec, and basically I took it to the top. It took 5 years to convince them to get involved with enzymes, and the company just took off like crazy in terms of increasing its volume of sales by 10 times in a period of a couple of years. And then other companies in MLM started getting into enzymology, and we ended up doing product development. So within a matter of a couple of years, enzymology just was widespread. Just like right now, we have a situation, at one time, wheatgrass was totally unknown. Right now, you go over on wheatgrass therapy, Ann Wigmore. You go on MedLib over there, Ann Wigmore sprays to the nth degree. I mean, like she's the queen bee, in a sense, in the healing arts. And she's being spoken so highly of the wheatgrass therapy and all the wonderful things she has done. So basically, it took 50 years, more or less, to bring about a radical change, and we see it so accelerated. But right now, the buzzword is sprouts on all the different functional medicine doctors, even Oprah. She's talking about, oh my God, sprouts. Yes,
Right.
it's one of the wonder foods in the world that just give you so much energy, and it is true. Sprouts and microgreens, which I invented in a sense by discovering seeds that germinate quickly, namely sunflower, buckwheat, pea greens, and a few others. Initially, where you on a small little plot of land, I'm talking about one square foot with half an inch soil, you could grow up to 4 pounds of in a period of 8 days. of basically the most fantastic superfoods imaginable, and right in your own apartment, with just a regular little daylight that you get from the window, and this was became our indoor gardening concept that was part of the important thing that went along with the Hippocrates program. So yeah, no, this is going like wildfire throughout the whole alternative media, which is becoming the most dominant media in the world. Everybody's talking now about sprouts, microgreens, which is already a multi-billion-dollar industry in terms of retail sales. So we're looking at the shifts that is taking place, and basically, and most people, right now the new evolution is basically on cultural awareness. So the new buzzword is mindful eating, and if you look up mindful eating, like at least 2 years ago on Harvard.ed, they call mindful eating is basically being very conscious of how it was grown, having appreciation, eating less, blessing, saying a prayer or blessing the food over there, eating, doing intermittent fasting, and chewing a lot from solids to liquids, all these little things. They're part of our culture. It's becoming the word Fletcherize, which is to chew very thoroughly into liquids. Your food is so becoming important. And among other things, they said, lastly, says, and basically emphasizing of basically a plant-based nutrition, not animal-based, but everywhere you see, we have been an influence, and there's a demographics called cultural creatives. Basically, in 1985 they did studies on demographics of what were the behavior patterns of people, and they defined it in three different groups: moderns, traditionalists, and also what they call cultural creatives. These are people that have high values, respect for all life, and basically and respect for Mother Earth and themselves, and into spirituality. And they were a minority. Now they're majority in our time. And so changes are occurring, and even Trump is talking about it. The President Trump over there, how bad the situation is, and we need solutions. And we got to get away from chemicals. We got to get away from processed foods. Even we got to get away from medication, over medication. And because our culture is collapsing. In 1966, there was only 25% of the children had basically old age degenerative diseases. Right now, it's 54. So we got to start saving our children, because according to demographics, right now the children born today will be outlived by the parents. So you gotta do some radical alterations in upgrading your lifestyle habits. So and we all can do it with simple little steps. You don't have to do a lot, but get into it. Start off by moving away from processed foods. And I'm talking also to the choir. All these vegetarians and vegans, they're all eating processed foods like crazy, or they're vegan. No, processed food is good for your health, and we see aging is so accelerated and health deteriorates. Oh, I'm still, respectful for animals, but you're not respectful for number one animal, your own body. So it's very important. And then exercise. These are the things that are in my book, Survival in the 21st Century, which is still a very popular seller. You can get it on Amazon. Basically, I emphasize the holistic approach, namely, which was initiated in the 60s, well, in the 70s by Dr. Koff. He ended up being instructed by the late president to find out how come America was the sickest nation in the world. And 10 years later, they come back with the Surgeon General report and is saying, as far as wellness and health is concerned, do not expect any help from your medical doctors or from hospitals or any scientific breakthrough. It resides in 5 basic principles: diet, exercise, your attitude toward life, your stress level, how you manage, are you positive or negative? Are you filled with fear, anxiety? So, and then of course, the rest, recuperation, regeneration, how well do you rest at night? And also, lastly, the environment within which we live. And right now, these are all things challenged. So you got to take a lot of protective action just to stay afloat in a world that is so toxic. The number one cause of death right now is actually airborne diseases, basically, and it's happening worldwide. So you need to sanitize your air. You got to sanitize your water. You got to have sanitize your clothing, everything. You just have to. A lot of protection is requires on your part, but you can do it. Just stuff. But the biggest influence is dietary factor because that's the thing that is the source of your fuel, your energy that gives you clear mind, ability to function. I mean, I'm 86, and basically by 86, over 50% of Americans are basically suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's disease. And basically, and why I'm not, or it's having it because I work my mind, use it or lose it, whether it's your body or your mind. So you study, you exercise, you challenge yourself, you work on yourself, and not only on yourself, but also socially being involved, engaged to make a difference in the world. So I'm still very active on so many different levels, trying to make a difference in the world. So, and we were starting to something, like a visionary. She had an idea that came out of her dharma, her passion. She wanted to make a difference in the world based on what she learned from her godmother, which was the power healing of grasses and weeds and stuff like that. She healed herself of gangrene, and then she healed herself of cancer by eating weeds and wild grasses. And then she wanted to take this into the apartment. She developed that beautiful system that just made it possible for everybody to have all the medicine you need in your own home grown. Wheatgrass, indoor greens, sprouts, fermented foods. Yeah, seaweed, sea vegetables, Himalayan sea salt, all the things that are required. And you're going to see a radical and different ability to be able to withstand stress and being able to experience enjoying life with your family, with yourself, within your community. And we need to go out and just share the light. In other words, don't be propagating and pushing ideas. Be an example of health, vitality, and service and joy. Helping people to upgrade. You don't have to become overnight a vegetarian or a vegan or raw foodist. No, just keep upgrading. Keep doing better and better. Get off all your addictions. And I still dealing with my own addiction. It has to do some of it very subtle, very mental, very emotional. We all have had difficulties in our lives, and mine was some of the more difficult ones. During the last 35 years, I've been the healthiest ever. Whereas during my first 50 years, I was sick, in pain, suffering. But I never gave up. And that's the whole idea. Never give up on yourself. And kindness, compassion, and basically, and of service to one another. And then we will all have more than enough of everything that we need to lead a very happy life.
Our guest has been VIKTORAS KULVINSKAS, a most influential wellness teacher working in the 1970s, 80s, 90s, influenced thousands and thousands of people with his fantastic work and his capacity to study and to teach. I'm thrilled that VIKTORAS KULVINSKAS has been on the show. This is Josh Lane. You're listening to Here's to Your Health. We take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
Medical scientists worldwide are encouraging people to eat more fish. Most American diets are low in cold water fish that are abundant in important omega-3 oils. DHA and EPA are the vital components of fish oil that provide healthy benefits. Not only are they crucial for brain and vision development, they're very important for cardiovascular health. Carlson, America's leading Norwegian fish oil brand, specializes in both great-tasting soft gels that are easy to swallow and fish oil liquids that don't taste fishy. That's right, Carlson provides the most extensive line of fish oils to meet all your needs. You can take Carlson fish oils with confidence, for Carlson fish oils are tested for purity, potency, and freshness. Ask for Carlson Norwegian fish oils today. That's right, ask for Carlson Norwegian fish oils today.
Hi friends, friends, Monica Brandt here for Aloe Life #1 in aloe vera. As a professional international athlete for over 30 years between track, ninja, and fitness, I want to remind you of daily exercise plus Aloe Life, my daily wake up to look and feel your best. Aloe Life products boosted victory for me in 2016, winning first place World's European Union figure. See AloeLife.com athletes. Plus, workouts are easier too with Aloe Life products for digestion, energy, and stamina for success, or even dropping weight. It's so easy, friends, to choose a winning team. Aloe Gold or Detox Plus with certified organic daily green superfoods by Aloe Life. Be your own best athlete with Aloe Life products that work fast. AloeLife.com or 1-800-414-ALOE. Choose Aloe Life today, friends. I'm glad I did. This is Monica Brandt, Fitness Olympia champion and fan of Aloe Life for over 10 years. Aloe Life since 1991.
The latest from the greatest, the best in new music by classic rockers, with your host, the insane Daryl Wayne.
This is Alice Cooper, and if Daryl Wayne is insane, what does that make me? Criminally insane. Stick around to find out.
Many of the artist interviews for the latest from the greatest have been captured on audio book. There is a Volume 1 and Volume 2. Great information and conversations with people in the industry and people surrounded by the industry, and of course the rock stars themselves.
I'm the Reverend Al Green, and you're listening to the insane Daryl Wayne. And I said Wayne Insane.
You can find it on Amazon or Blackstone Audio. Search for the latest from the greatest from Daryl Wayne, DARRELLWAYNE.
Hello, this is Weird Al Yankovic, and you're listening to the insane Daryl Wayne, aren't you?
Welcome to this edition of Here's to Your Health. I'm your host, Josh Lane. Happy to say my friend Magabandhu is our guest today. Magabandhu, one of the leaders who work with Swami Satchidananda. Satchidananda, well known for people of our generation. Satchidananda became very well known when he was the teacher at Woodstock, and that made him nationally prominent. And Magabandhu has been working with Swami Satchidananda since the 1960s. Magabandhu, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Josh. It's always good to be here with you.
Thanks. Happy to have you on. And we're chatting with John in New Jersey. And those of you listening to the broadcast, if you hear something that sounds like a wind noise in the background, that's because it's windy in New Jersey, and you're hearing a little bit of wind noise. Magabandhu, as a young man, what was it that prompted you to study with Satchidananda?
Well, it was in his 60s, and at that time there were so many things happening. You know, there was the drug revolution. I needed some stability. I was in college, and I had just gotten back I was in Mexico for a couple months, and I was feeling my oats. I was, doing a lot of non-regulated medications,
Sure.
And so I wasn't feeling well, and I was friends with the Rascals. You met Eddie.
Yes.
And they met Swami Satchidananda on tour. And they said, maybe you should go see him. He's working with a lot of people in New York City. There was a place in New York City that he was working at the time. It was on 500 Western Avenue. So I went to see him. And I told him what my experiences were. I wasn't feeling well. I was feeling depressed. And he just explained to me, what happens when you do certain, drugs and following a rehabilitating lifestyle, which is not rehabilitating, So I just kind of listened to what he said. And the one thing that I was really comfortable with was doing pranayama. And he says, and he explained to me how the body works with breathing, because at that time when there's a lot of other teachers coming around, and yoga, the hatha yoga postures were really big.
Mm-hmm.
People were like, these advanced techniques, and yoga became like the ultimate exercise at that time.
Yes.
And he says, I don't want to teach you how to stand on your head. He said, I want to teach you how to stand on your feet.
Oh, wow.
So
Nice.
he showed me so I did the yoga postures, but he says, you want to do something more subtle, which would really clear your mind up. He says, I want you to do the pranayama. And at that time, he designed a class with the postures in the beginning and then the breathing techniques after the postures themselves. And he explained to me the body has 5 different pranas. And he told me where the locations were. And he named them. One was called prana, which went from your navel to your throat area. Then it was apana prana, went from navel to your lower extremities. And then there was a udana prana, went from your shoulders to your fingertips, your hips to your toes. Samana prana dealt with your digestive system. And then Vyana prana was all the pranas throughout your entire system. And he said, when one out of balance, your whole body will get out of balance. So he showed me different pranayama techniques. And the first one that he showed was the basic pranayama technique was called Dirgha Swasana. It was called a 3-part deep breathing. And that was the basis for all other breathing techniques, no matter what system you follow. This particular breathing technique balanced out the entire system. And it went from, and it was a very simple breathing technique, and it went, you just relax the stomach area, relax the body, and you inhale through the nose, and the stomach filled up, and as the inhalation continues, this air rises up, expand the chest, and raise the collarbone. And then you exhale completely in reverse. And he explained it. When you're doing the breathing, imagine an empty pitcher. And as you inhale, this empty pitcher filling up from water from the bottom to the top, and as you exhale, it empties out from the top to the bottom. He says, when you follow that image, your whole body would balance out. So I used to do that every day for like 5-10 minutes a day, 3 times a day. And at that time I had acid reflux, I had all kinds of digestive disorders. And in like maybe a month's time, all of that cleared up.
Wow.
I mean, I was getting headaches, I couldn't digest, my food was backing up. And just this one simple breathing technique kind of took care of everything. And to this day, 55 years later, I still do it every day.
Right. And that technique is called what again, John?
It's a 3-part deep breathing, but in Sanskrit term, it's called Dirgha Swasana. It means 3-part deep breathing. And takes care of respiration, assimilation, and elimination. That's how it's broken down. You breathe in that fresh prana.
When you started these, how long before you saw results? Okay, so that was pretty fast.
It was almost immediate.
And when you were a young man, and I'm assuming that you had read many books, spiritual books, and many things. And did you immediately feel comfortable with Satchidananda? Did you think this guy seems to be the real deal?
Yes, yeah. I was an altar boy.
Okay.
As a kid, and for me, I always wondered if there was a God.
And so you had a background in religious studies as a very young man. And so when you were studying with Satchidananda, was there any pushback from your parents? Were they not happy with that?
No, my parents were really, they accepted mostly everything I did. They were really open to everything, and especially my mother. My father was Sicilian. He was, he was a little, once in a while. When I got into the meditation in the beginning, he thought there was like a communist plot or something, Because at that time, there was articles in the New York Times about like these masters were coming over from India, and there was a form of communism because they're trying to brainwash you. And in a way, it is communal, but they called it communism at that time. But it just opened your mind to, bigger and better things, I mean, it was in the beginning, you had to work with it a little bit, but now it's just so comfortable for me. 55 years later, I'm still doing it, so.
For those just tuning into the show, our guest is Magabandhu. I've known Magabandhu for 50 years, frankly. It's amazing to be able to say that. And I know what a dedicated wellness teacher Magabandhu is. Now, Magabandhu, when you learn these techniques, I imagine Satchidananda saw that you were a reliable, nice, intelligent person, and he was happy to work with you. So how did he incorporate you into his organization, to put it that way?
Well, I was in New Jersey at the time, and I had gone to New York for training, because that's where he was centered, in New York, and I took teachers training. And then when I went back to Jersey, we started a small center. It was at Eddie Brigatti's house. Mm-hmm. And people started coming, and then Swami Satchidananda started visiting, and then there was this loft in Garfield that some of the teachers that used to come to the class, their father owned the loft, so we started a loft. It was, and that's where it became the first institute. Mm-hmm. And then we had a house in Convent Station where we lived together as a group. There was one of Swami Satchidananda's friends. His name was Brother David. He was a Benedictine monk, and he was affiliated with the Sisters of Charity at this one college in Convent Station. And then from there, a lot of people came to this place, Convent Station, and there was a group of women that came, and one of them was Christopher Reeve's aunt, Superman. And actually, she started taking classes with us, and over the years, she gave us a donation so that we were able to buy a house in Fair Lawn, New Jersey. That's where our institute is now.
Right.
So over the years, you met a lot of different people. We did a lot of different classes. We teach at colleges, psychiatric wards. I taught in prison, So one of the things that really helps a lot, when I was teaching prison, is the breathing.
Our guest is Magabandhu, a student of the teacher Swami Satchidananda, who was very popular in the 60s and 70s, and I guess the 80s, whose ideas have been picked up, and now they, in a good way, they're kind of mainstream. People recognize, oh yes, meditation and breathing techniques and exercise and eating carefully. I mean, today, they're largely mainstream. Back in the 60s and 70s, people maybe were dismissive, but now people are paying attention. More people are paying attention. Maybe half the population, maybe even more. Magabandhu, when you taught yoga and breathing techniques at the prisons in New Jersey, was that well received by the prisoners?
It was. It really was. There was a psychologist I worked with. Her name was Crane Grosbeck. And she was starting different programs throughout the country. And she came to Morristown, New Jersey. That's where I worked at it. And she was really into rehabbing the inmates. And they grasped onto it. They took yoga like in 2 minutes. They were actually accepting it.
Wow.
It was really nice. So I taught there for a couple of years. I was there like a couple times a week.
And may I ask, how many men did you have in a class?
About 15.
Okay, 15. That's a good sized class, because you can have too many. You got to keep an eye on everybody. Keep an eye on.
And some of them, they were really good. I tell you. I mean, there was a lot of heavy duty guys in that class too.
I'll bet.
I knew how to talk their language.
You know how to work the students so that the students understand the value of the subject. Frankly, but this is very, very important. And so these serious people who you were teaching, were you ever concerned about safety issues?
No, in the first class I taught, there was this room, they had a room, there was no windows or anything, and they wanted the guards to stay in the class. I said, well, that's not going to really, do any good. I said, you're trying to do yoga and somebody's standing with their hands folded, standing over you. But there was one guard, his name was Scap Johnson. He was an older man, but all the inmates respected him. So he took the class with them. He laid down with them side by side.
That was smart.
Yes, it was really something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they really respected this guy. And at that time, the psychologist Crane Grosbeck, we were doing some testing, biofeedback machines.
Okay.
And some of the inmates, we took a test and we tested their anxiety level. And before they did the breathing, some of them tested, like the numbers range from 1 to 10, 1 being the calmest and 10 being the most anxious. And most of them tested 8 or 9, And after we hooked them up to the electrodes and everything, after the class, especially deep relaxation, they were like 2 or 3, So this psychologist, Crane Grosbeck, she took all this information, and she was using it because she wanted to establish programs throughout the country as far as teaching in prisons.
Right.
Then I had Swami Satchidananda come and give lectures at the prison.
Really?
See?
And how'd that go over?
It went over really well.
Right.
I mean, and they had him back. I had him there 3 times.
Right.
And the inmates were totally overwhelmed with him. There's a book called Prison Yoga. And there's a chapter in the book where it tells when Gurudev came to speak with them.
Now, if I can mention this about Satchidananda, he always seemed like a strongly built, athletic kind of a guy. So I guess people who were, in prison would respect him that he was, just strongly built. Was that a good thing?
It was. I tell you, if you ever saw him swim, because we were in swim one time, he was so powerful. He was such a powerful swimmer. Strong. He was very strong. Yeah.
And these pranayama courses that you taught in prison, so that went on for how many years did you do that?
5 or 6, maybe 7. I stopped. The grant ran out, and I was willing to do it without the grant, But politics involved, they just said, no, we can't do it anymore. See?
I got you.
Sometimes the politics interfere with the sanity.
Oh, sure. And it is surprising even that some people in politics would allow you to go to prison and teach yoga, breathing techniques, which they say, no, that's not Judeo-Christian. So, there's all sorts of pushback that as you get older, you recognize in the real world, a lot of people really don't like your ideas and will do what they can to thwart them, frankly. That's just kind of the way it is. We don't really know that when you're in your 20s. You don't really realize it. But when you get older, you realize, okay, that's,
They were really open to the whole program. Slowed it down. Because they were talking about finances, and then I was just willing to do it for free.
And John, so what other ideas on food or on healing?
Any place, you could, like even colleges now. I've been teaching at Fairleigh Dickinson University for 55 years.
Wow.
It's an accredited course. And the kid, it's really good because nowadays, especially what's going on in colleges, the stress there is so much that, these kids really need something like that, and yoga really helps.
Right.
Right. So, and anywhere you go, yoga would be good. It depends on how you present it, Right. Some in our organizations, the way Swami Satchidananda designed the class, it was like more for geared towards meditation and relaxation. It's not like standing on your head, that was okay too, but he geared it towards mental relaxation. And that's what a lot of these kids need in school, especially now what's happening in the universities.
Yes. And when you're teaching now yoga classes at Fairleigh Dickinson, do you find that sometimes that students will say, yeah, my father and mother used to do this years ago? Does that ever happen?
Once in a while, not too much.
Right. Well, once in a while it's better than there's nothing at all. And so what is happening with Satchidananda's organization today? So has it grown? Has yoga become so popular now that everyone says, oh God, yes, we know Satchidananda?
Well, everybody knows who he is, or you want to say who he was, who he is, because he was such a dynamic personality. Don't forget, he started Woodstock. And after that, anytime, sometimes you see it on television, there's like a movie, and there he is.
Yes.
Everybody knows who he is.
If I can say this, and when you see him in the movie, again, he was a nice-looking guy with a beautiful head of hair. I mean, if you were a movie director and you wanted someone from Central Casting to be a guru, this is the guy you'd pick. I mean, this guy really looked like, as a younger man, that he played football, which is actually very nice.
He was very strong.
Yeah.
I've experienced his strength a lot of times. Plus, he was very, when our ashram was being developed, he did a lot of the work. He drove the backhoes and stuff. He was right there with all of us.
No kidding.
It wasn't like he was the guru. He sat back and gave me orders. He was right there with us. That's why he covered everything.
Wait, excuse me. You mean to tell me Swami Satchidananda was actually driving a backhoe? That's really that's a great scene. Wow.
Bulldozers, backhoes. He knew how to fix a car. It wasn't just a guru that was sat in the cross-legged position and did Om. He did everything.
Wow, that's delightful. I'm very happy to hear that. Wow.
Well, before he became a master, teacher, he worked in the auto industry. He worked in the film industry. He was so well overall balanced. I mean, and there wasn't anything that he couldn't just talk about or discuss in detail. When I first went to see him, I was so surprised that he knew what LSD was, what it was, how it handled in your mind, how it worked in your head. Right. It was amazing the way he explained it, physiologically. He just knew so much about it. Also he went to he went to homeopathy school. Before he became a master, he covered a lot of areas.
When you saw him as a Swami, but as an older man, you see him just as a masterful teacher? I mean, was there a shift in your sense of him?
I'll tell you a story. When I first went to see him, I always had that, reverence for him. I knew he was a master. He was my teacher, but it wasn't like it is now, like he was my guru, Right. And at that time, it was, you met Eddie, and the Rascals were on tour, so Eddie took me to Hawaii, because the Rascals used to, when they ended their tour, they went in Hawaii, so they brought Gerda with us, and he was on tour, so it was really nice. And the Rascals had rented this house from the Vanderbilts. It was a beautiful home, and there was a cook that came with the house, a little Japanese cook, straight out of the Charlie Chan movie, and he cooked these beautiful meals. So one day Swami Satchidananda was invited to come to the meal, and this cook closed the kitchen doors and he just cooked this beautiful meal. And at that night we're sitting down together, Swami Satchidananda is sitting with us, and there's about 20 people. And he says, it was a fantastic vegetarian meal. He says, who cooked this meal? And Eddie and I says, well, he's just cooking in the back. His name was Woji, whatever his name was. He said, go get him. And so we went in the kitchen and he wouldn't come. He goes, no. So he told Gerda, he says, he doesn't want to come. So Gerda went in the kitchen to go get him, and he runs out through the corridor and he falls down. And Gerda goes to pick him up and he says, I talk broken English, and he starts kissing Gerda's feet. And look at Eddie, I'm saying, what's he know that we don't? And after that reverence was like even stronger than ever. Even Eddie said, he looked at, it was something else. He was something special for us, Even to this day, he's not in here with his body, but in this building, in this room where we're speaking now, he's here with us, He's going to make your show grow more than ever now.
Well, thank you. That'd be very nice too. And Satchidananda, how many people did he influence, if we can say numbers-wise? I mean, was there several 100,000 people in the United States and throughout Europe?
Well, about 1 million people, that's what I would say. Because wherever you go, I mean, people know who he is. Germany, we have centers in Australia, Germany, England, we have places all over.
Right. Magabandhu, how can the listeners of Here's to Your Health contact you and the Satchidananda organization to find out more about your good works? I know you have a center in Virginia where you run classes, I think, almost year-round, don't you?
We have classes here in New Jersey. As a matter of fact, in January, we'll be doing a pranayama class.
How can we contact you? What's the contact information?
integralyoga@gmail.com.
Give us that once again.
integralyoga@gmail.com. We're doing a pranayama class, 3 classes, and it gives you all the aspects of pranayama. We'll be working with, diet and nutrition as well,
This is Josh Lane. You're listening to Here's to Your Health. We've just been chatting with my friend Magabandhu, who was very influential working with Satchidananda, and the Satchidananda organization is still very active worldwide. And we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
Friends, say goodbye to rough, dry, and troubled skin. Even acne scars fade with Aloe Life Skin Gel by Aloe Life, not over-processed. So look for the dark yellow color, like the ancients wrote about, that gets to work fast in 5 minutes to 45 days. Skin Gel for more beautiful skin by Aloe Life. Call 800-414-ALOE. That's 800-414-ALOE. An A+ Better Business Bureau company. Skin Gel available at Whole Foods, Clark's, Natural Grocers, other quality stores, plus AloeLife.com. 800-414-ALOE. That's 800-414-ALOE. Aloe Life, aloe vera. For you, 800-414-ALOE. Do something good for yourself. Zoom into the new year. Leaders in health products since 1991. Aloe Life, for a healthier life.
Have you had your Carlson Norwegian fish oil today? Decades ago, scientists discovered why Greenland Eskimos maintain healthy hearts despite their high-fat diets. The high level of omega-3 oils in their seafood diet protected their hearts. Carlson Norwegian fish oil provides those important omega-3 oils. The same omega-3s from cold water fish support maximum brain power, immune strength, joint comfort, and our vision too. Carlson, the very finest fish oil, is a valuable source of the important omega-3s, EPA and DHA. Each teaspoon provides a full 1,600 milligrams of omega-3s. And its purity is guaranteed. Try it on salads and popcorn. It tastes like lemon, not fishy. Ask for Carlson, the very finest fish oil, at finer health food stores today.
The latest from the greatest, the best in new music by classic rockers, with your host, the insane Daryl Wayne.
This is Alice Cooper, and if Daryl Wayne is insane, what does that make me? Criminally insane. Stick around to find out.
Many of the artist interviews for the latest from the greatest have been captured on audio book. There is a Volume 1 and Volume 2. Great information and conversations with people in the industry and people surrounded by the industry, and of course the rock stars themselves.
I'm the Reverend Al Green, and you're listening to the insane Daryl Wayne. And I said Wayne Insane.
You can find it on Amazon or Blackstone Audio. Search for the latest from the greatest from Daryl Wayne, Darrell Wayne.
Hello, this is Weird Al Yankovic, and you're listening to the insane Daryl Wayne, aren't you?
Thank you for listening to the show. If you have suggestions for guests or topics you would like to hear, please email me at joshlane.wellness@gmail.com. That's joshlane.wellness@gmail.com. JOSHLANE wellness@gmail.com. On behalf of the cast and crew, I would like to wish you a healthy and safe good evening.